If you looked at Maple Ridge from above, you'd swear nothing bad could ever happen there. Perfectly trimmed hedges lined identical beige houses. Motion lights blinked on schedule, and every evening the street settled into a mechanical calm. I used to love that rhythm, rules, predictability, order. The HOA promised safety, and for a while it delivered. My name's Omar Qureshi, an electrical technician by trade, a man who trusts meters more than gossip. For 10 years, my wife and I lived by the book. Paint codes, mailbox heights, the whole suburban scripture. We paid our dues, waved to neighbors, and slept to the hum of air conditioners whispering through the night. Life was quiet, almost too perfect. Across the cul-de-sac lived Karen Hayes, our HOA president. She was the kind of woman who'd find you with a smile. Her house gleamed like a showroom, her rules laminated in a binder thicker than a phone book. People called her Madam Maple behind her back, but to her face, they obeyed. Then something small began to itch at the edges of that perfection. My utility bill crept upward even as we used less power. Streetlights flickered when they shouldn't. And every evening, right when my numbers spiked, Karen's brand new Tesla glowed with that smug green ring of charging life. I didn't say anything. In Maple Ridge, you didn't accuse the queen without proof. But power doesn't vanish. It flows somewhere. Soon, I'd find exactly where it was going. It started subtly. One night, after a late shift, I noticed an orange extension cord snaking out from behind the HOA storage shed, the one that housed the communal outlet meant for lawn tools. The cord led under a hedge and vanished near Karen's property line. Curiosity tugged at me harder than caution. I followed it one night, flashlight off, boots silent on dewy grass. The line fed straight into a weatherproof box on her sidewall, an improvised charging port. I crouched down, and the faint hum confirmed it. She was pulling current from the community meter, not her own. The next morning, I confronted her gently. Karen, I think there's a line running from the HOA outlet to your property. She laughed, brushing it off. Oh, Omar, you must have seen the landscaper's cable. Don't overthink things. Overthink. I measure things for a living. So I started logging data. Every night for a week, I recorded the communal meter reading, then cross-referenced it with a grid pattern from my own service line. The spikes matched perfectly with Karen's late-night charging sessions. Still, I stayed calm. I drafted a polite email to the HOA board, attaching my readings. No response. A week later, I got a warning letter for trespassing near HOA property after dark. That's when I knew the board wasn't blind. They were protecting her. So I did what engineers do best. I built a solution. I installed a diagnostic relay inside the community junction box. If anyone drew power illegally, it would trigger a feedback signal, logging the timestamp and load strength. The system didn't just detect power theft. It recorded it. And soon, it would expose the truth. The night it happened was calm, too calm. The air was thick with summer heat and irony. I sat in my garage, laptop open, monitoring the relay system. Around 10:43 p.m., the dashboard flashed red. Unauthorized draw detected, 12.4 kilowatts. Karen was charging again. I stepped outside quietly, just as a faint blue glow spread for her driveway. The Tesla's charger pulsed rhythmically, feeding off the community line. I followed the buried wire I'd already mapped to the junction panel near the curb. I flipped open the box. Sure enough, her unauthorized feed was drawing heavy. I didn't yell. I didn't cut it right away. Instead, I connected my isolation relay, a safety mechanism that measures overload feedback. It wasn't designed to destroy. It was designed to teach. When I hit enter, the diagnostic relay pulsed. The system sent a controlled surge, brief, harmless to the grid, but enough to trip any illegal connector. Sparks snapped under the hedge, followed by the shrill chirp of a Tesla charger fault alarm. The green light on her car blinked out. Moments later, her front door swung open. "What the hell did you do?" she screamed, marching across the lawn in her robe. Her hair was wild, her voice sharper than a live wire. "Nothing you didn't already do yourself," I said calmly. "You've been stealing power, Karen." Her eyes darted to the junction box, to the scorched adapter. "That's a lie. You sabotaged me." By now, half the neighborhood's lights had flicked on. Curtains parted. The same people she'd bullied for years were watching. Karen's face drained of color as she realized her performance had an audience. I recorded everything, her shouting, the exposed cord, the smell of burnt insulation. My relay logs backed it all up, timestamp by timestamp. Tomorrow morning, I said evenly, this goes to the utility company and the HOA ethics committee. You wouldn't dare. I smiled. I already did. By sunrise, the story spread faster than gossip at a bake sale. The utility company arrived before breakfast, escorted by 2 inspectors and a city safety officer. Karen stood on her porch in oversized sunglasses, pretending she didn't know why they were there. It didn't take them long. They traced the illegal feed straight from the community junction box into her private wall socket. The inspector whistled. "This is felony-level tampering," he muttered. "Someone's been very creative." Karen's tone changed from denial to desperation. "It was an accident. My contractor must have." "Ma'am," the officer interrupted, "your name's on the maintenance request and the purchase order for this cable." Word got out. Neighbors who'd been fined by her for petty nonsense, like mismatched flower pots or non-compliant mailbox paint, finally found their voices. They packed the afternoon HOA meeting, demanding accountability. I presented the data logs, photographs, and relay readings. Every kilowatt she'd stolen was documented. The board couldn't look me in the eye. Turns out, Karen had been waiving her own dues for years, labeling them as community maintenance credits. The utility company fined her personally. She was ordered to repay damages, cover installation of tamper-proof meters, and faced criminal investigation for energy theft. That night, her Tesla sat dead in her driveway, charger blinking red, battery system faulted from repeated misuse. The irony wasn't lost on anyone. The car that symbolized her power was now just an expensive paperweight. A week later, the HOA held a special election. For the first time in years, people showed up, not out of fear, but hope. Karen tried to defend herself, spinning stories about sabotage and conspiracies, but the evidence was airtight. She was voted out unanimously. The HOA passed new transparency rules, open books, rotating leadership, and independent audits. The utility company installed smart meters with tamper alerts in every home. When the meeting ended, Karen slipped out silently, her empire of control reduced to ashes. The same neighbors she'd intimidated wouldn't even look her way. I didn't gloat. I just watched the streetlights flicker back on, steady, even, honest. For the first time, Maple Ridge felt like a neighborhood, not a kingdom. Power reveals character, sometimes literally. Karen thought authority meant immunity, but electricity has rules you can't manipulate. In the end, it wasn't revenge that fried her battery. It was karma, conducted through copper. You can steal current for a while, but justice? That always finds its way back to the source.